It's going to be a little bit different, though. It's not going to be exactly like the Razorback Raffle that was officially announced today. I know that this has been a discussion for months, it seems like, when it comes to how the University of Arkansas was going to handle the Razorback Raffle or the raffle in general. We know in this state there's been ongoing negotiations. We've had Carlton Safa from BetSaracen and Saracen Casino Resort joining us on this show, talking about what they wanted, and also from the other side of it. And we know that the state of Arkansas decided to rule in favor of what this current setup would be, and it was going to be ran by the universities of doing this raffle. Kept wondering when it was going to be announced. Well, here it is. It officially announced this morning, where they put out the press release that it is a charitable initiative conducted to support University of Arkansas Department of Athletics and its student athletes. The Razorback Raffle offers fans an exciting way to support the University of Arkansas athletics program, whether they're cheering on the Hogs in person or remotely, where the debut is right now, the Razorback Raffle, in conjunction with the baseball home series against Tennessee. And fans may begin purchasing online chances for inaugural raffle beginning now, with the jackpot awarded during the final game of the series on May 17th. So we'll talk about the ins and outs of all this stuff, guys. But obviously, this was something we knew was coming. But now that it's here, what are our thoughts on the official announcement and the debut of the Razorback Raffle?
Oh man, I'll go with the 40,000 foot view because I know we'll dive deeper into some specifics. I'm glad that it's up and running. It's funny to me that it comes at the very last opportunity to do this during the athletic calendar, like the last home series and event. But maybe that serves as a good test run. You know what I mean? Like, I know there's stuff you got to figure out before you can launch something like this, but it's just like the joking side of it's a very Arkansas thing to happen here. But I think, if you understand it for what it is, then you can find value in it. But I do think it could be pretty easy to get misled on it all. It's not a situation where the funds here go directly to NIL. It's, pretty clearly put out there. They could go to a lot of different causes there to support the athletic department, just not necessarily that part of it. But no, the website looks easy enough to use. There's going to be some kinks that they have to work out and some things that they have to tweak and fix, just like anything that you launch. But no, I'm anxious to talk about it and dive into the weeds here with you guys.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Curtis. Like, this is a good thing, no doubt about it. Hell, just for me personally, like, I don't know about you guys, when y'all go to big league ball games, like, y'all do the 50-50 raffle, right? You got to, just to make sure you don't win whatever it is.
You never know.
Yeah. You never know. Curtis, I swear there was one time at Busch, I was like, I'm winning it. Like, this, I got it tonight. There was like 12 people in attendance. I was like, I got this one. No, did not work out that way, but it's always fun to do stuff like this. And look, any money that you can generate for your athletic department is a good thing. And so, yeah, that's cool. But Curtis, you touched on it. I want to read this little excerpt here just to make it clear, because I think when we talked about this with Carlton Safa back in August, and we talked about it a few times. We talked about it on the show a ton since leading up. We felt like we were talking about this dream of how this could be this complete game changer. And if they do it right and they do it with Saracen, like, they can really pull this off and make it a massive thing that would change Arkansas's placement in the NIL game. This is absolutely not that. This is a step maybe in that direction, which is better than nothing, but it is not that. It says the winner will receive half of the jackpot from the week-long campaign raffle sales, with the remaining proceeds contributing to the Razorback Foundation's ongoing efforts to support Razorback athletics and our student athletes. So that is a little bit of a vague statement there, but what it is not is this is going to help us in the NIL department, which I think is what people, big picture, the reason we talked about this is because we thought it might be such a big, groundbreaking move in that front. And this is just not that, but it is still a cool thing.
Yeah, listen, I think that when I say we, us three especially, tried to go into each and one of these issues with an open mind and look at it from all angles and all perspectives. Because I think that when it's something as nuanced as this and something as new as this and something that is ever changing, ever evolving, like NIL is, like the college athletic landscape in general, you got to look at it from all sides. And I think that us, when, we've had Carlton on and we've talked about what his side was, and we talked about from the other side, we try to look at it all in all ways, shapes, and forms. And again, shout out to Daniel Shee, because I think Daniel Shee's done a really good job of covering a lot of this and being very fair and very objective with it. And I think he's done a really good job with it. But if you look at it just from the surface level of what this is, It's pretty much laid out to you. And of course, according to the official press release here, it just tells you, okay, well, what's it going to go to? You already mentioned Razorback Foundation to help student athletes. So it's not going towards the Arkansas Edge. That needs to be made clear. It's not going to an NIL collective. It's going toward the Razorback Foundation, which, of course, is getting prepared and ready for the revenue sharing that is inevitably going to be passing in July for that $20.5 million. So that's important to know. How much your tickets cost? You get 5 tickets for $10, 25 tickets for $20, 100 tickets for $50, 300 tickets for $100. How many tickets can you purchase? There's a maximum of $250 per transaction that you can use on raffle, and they can pay through credit card or debit card. You must be 18 years or older to do that, as well as being located in the state of Arkansas, which Carlton's already pointed out. The only way that you say that you verify you're 18 is just by clicking a box saying, hey, don't worry, trust me, I'm 18. So already a thing there. But where can you buy it? You go to razorbackraffle.com. And then, of course, it'll announce it and have an update of how much it's sitting at each and every, second of the day. And it's just like any other raffle. And yes, it's going to be taxed. No, you do not have to be present to win. The odds of winning are just depending on how many people are jumped into it. So as far as the game itself, I think most people who understand how a raffle works, it's pretty much the same concept. It's just, hey, however many tickets you got, it's going to cost you more. But hey, cost you more means you have a better chance of winning. And the more you pay in, the more other people pay in, the higher the number goes. I think it's a pretty interesting, it's a pretty basic concept. It's about the underlying things, the fine print that I think people really have to understand and really make sure that they are fully engaged with what this is, where it's going, what it's going to be treated as, and also what the future of this holds. Is it going to be something that is around for a while, that's going to be successful, that is going to be promoted, or is it something that is going to be like the Arkansas Edge, where it was announced and then just kind of left there to fight for itself?
Yeah. I mean, I think this weekend will be a good test run for it, and then hopefully they'll have all summer, honestly, to make some changes and promote it, like all those things that they need to do. Will they do it? We'll see. But I'm anxious to see what the end game looks like from this first one, which is always going to get like the opening day bump kind of thing. But nevertheless, and the way I see it here, and I could be wrong. I don't think I am though. I read a story over at Best of Arkansas Sports. Andrew Hutchinson got a chance to talk to Hunter at the Razorback Roadshow thing in Bentonville, and he asked him a bunch of questions. It's a good story. I go check it out. He's talking about Remy Cofield and his responsibilities and filling out his staff. But then he was talking about all the preparations that they're going through to get ready for rev share and increasing in scholarships. And there's like $25 million that they're trying to come up with here that they've got to pay out for the 25-26 athletic calendar. And he's talking about how, they didn't give the athletic department employees the cost of living raise that you get every year because they're, like they need those funds, and they're waiting on certain things. The reseeding at Bud Walton Arena, which I touched on the pod at the Palace this morning, that, those proceeds are kind of going towards that to help that, bridge that gap. You've got the 3% concessions thing, like there's a number of different things there that are going on. And this is something that could serve as another vehicle towards getting them to that number. And there's an interesting quote in there in that story from Hunter, where he said, if we want to remain competitive in the SEC, we've got to share that $20.5 million revenue, just like everyone else in the league is. If we fall short of that, we're going to be fighting an uphill battle to remain competitive in our sports. So this is them trying to reach that barometer, and it's an opportunity for you, if you choose to help towards that cause. And it can go towards that, and it can go towards maintenance and all those other things that John pointed out there. But this is not the vehicle for a competitive advantage and that increase in NIL that we were kind of hoping for as it was initially presented to us when Carlton and all those other guys were involved. So that's kind of the way I see this here.
And that's kind of what, I don't want to say our frustration is, because, ultimately, like, there's a lot that goes into these things. There's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot easier said than done. It's a lot easier for us to sit on a microphone and be like, hey, they need to get this done and make this much money. There's a lot that goes into it. So I want to give them some, I guess, benefit of the doubt. But I think that's what we've been saying from the jump, is that it sucks they're not doing this in a way that could really be a huge driver in changing Arkansas' standing. And that's just, again, I think the messaging that I think the fan base, for the people that are listening that are like, why the hell are y'all talking about this raffle? It's because, again, we thought at the beginning there might be a chance for this to be some type of big move, and to kind of hear it point blank said that, hey, this is not that. Like, we're just going to kind of try and make some money to keep the lights on and do what we got to do. Like, that's a little bit discouraging. But, you mentioned how this is kind of the guinea pig, because you're going to have, this is your last athletic weekend, at least, where fans are going to be there other than postseason and stuff like that, basically until September. And so they kind of have all summer to figure this out. I'm going to be interested to see what that final number is. I think right before we went on the show, we were saying the winner would receive, at the where it's at now, and it's been live for whatever 3 or 4 hours, would win, a little under 5K or whatever. And we're like, all right, where that number is going to end up. Because again, when you're talking about the athletic department, you're talking about a 20-point whatever revenue sharing bill. Is $10,000 going to really like move the needle that much? And that's another part, is it feels like there's a very definitive ceiling on this thing, but this is a baseball series. And of course there's a lot going on. There's a lot of excitement, but I think they're going to look at this number and say, all right, we made X amount with baseball and it helped. All right, that was cool. But now we have football coming up. We have all summer to tweak this thing. How much can we really do? And so I do think the results of this are going to be interesting, because like we said, it's kind of the guinea pig to see what the market is for something like this, see how much fans get behind it, how invested people are, both literally and just figuratively. And so we'll see if this is kind of the start. I think this is a step in the right direction. It's just a very, very minuscule step in the right direction. And we're hoping for those big boy moves.
As of 12:15 p.m., the current jackpot is $9,180, and the estimated prize that you would win is $4,590, subject to tax.
There you go. Yeah. And, just again, some of the stuff that you got to look up and to look at into this, because I still have a lot of questions, and some of it I can get answered. Some of them, we may never get an answer to. And, looking at pros and cons of what this is. And I agree. It's not going to hurt the University of Arkansas's bottom line. It's not going to hurt NIL. It's not going to hurt anything. But it's a matter of, are you getting to the point to where, what Hunter said in that quote, this is what we have to do. These are the things we have to do in order to remain competitive. Okay. If that's the case, my question becomes, once again, are you that far behind all these other SEC programs then? Because not every SEC program's having to do this. Is it something like that? Is it because you've refused to promote the collective and promote the Arkansas Edge that this is your gateway to it? This is your way that you can make it happen? Because it just seems like they have been, and maybe it's like this in other states and in other teams. This is the team I cover. This is the team we talk about every day. So who knows exactly because it may be common, but I just look at it to where I don't think I've seen any other school program, especially in the SEC, comparatively speaking, who has referenced the revenue sharing as kind of like just got to make it to that point. And once we do, it's all going to be good, more so than Arkansas. Arkansas is looking at that 20 million revenue share thing as almost like, hey, let's just stay on water here. And then once that happens, everything's going to be evened out and it's going to be fine. I don't feel like I've heard many other schools or ADs or anybody discuss that as if it's some sort of white knight coming in to save the day and it's going to make everything just fine. I still think there are some major questions that need to be asked because, for instance, you have it to where you're wondering where the money is going to go. Well, the things that are laid out into the purposes that can be used, and this isn't from Arkansas Razorbacks.com, this is from the official bill that was signed into play. I mean, it could go towards almost anything, pretty much. I mean, we're talking about even purchase, maintenance, repair, debt services, or construction of the institutions of higher education, collegiate athletic property, facilities, and equipment. I mean, they can put it towards anything. So when you put this in there, you have no idea where it's going to go. Like, for instance, the Bud Walton Arena renovations, which I think we all agree is probably something that needs to be done. But say if they have all this money coming in and with this raffle, is it going to be the priority of, well, we got this linebacker over here we could really use and get on the team. However, the Bud Walton Arena renovations seem to come like, what's going to get the priority here? What's going to be your focus and your main objective with this money? You can use it for other things and you need to use it for other things, but is it going to be the priority of paying off your debts, doing facility work, all of that? Or is your main priority going to be like, all right, NIL first, and then after all that, then we'll alleviate and put it out there towards the other things too? That to me is going to be the ultimate question we'll never get an answer to. But one of the things that people have to consider when doing this and looking at this is that it could go to anything, and it could not go to NIL if they wanted it to. Not saying it will, but if they wanted it to, it just could go to what they want it to go to.
Yeah, I really want to. In fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to reach out to just some folks that cover at these other SEC schools, and just to get a better feel for what those conversations are, right? Because you're spot on, John. It's like we cover the Razorback, like we're entrenched with this every day. So maybe we're just hearing it more because we're more, we're deeper in there. We're in the trenches, man. But yeah, it is interesting. And I don't know, like I keep referring to this article from Hutch, but he interviewed Juracek, and it's good stuff. It's good reporting there. And just the way that it reads, like him detailing some of the budget cuts that they're doing there. It just, and I'm not even talking about the raffle so much now, as it just kind of screams like, well, what's the situation really like over there? Because it says between revenue sharing and the increase in scholarships that would come, they're having to come up with about 25 million for next year. So it's the 20 and a half plus what the scholarships are going to cost them. And one of the things Juracek is doing is cutting back the athletic department expenses. So it's the operating budgets for every sport. The department's employees are not getting the cost of living adjustment raises, which we hinted at, and the merit-based salary increases that other university employees are due to receive. So like other departments are getting them, but like the athletic department's not right now. And on top of that, incentive bonuses, so things that are in the contracts of these coaches or staff members or whatever that would have already been paid out otherwise, are being withheld until June 30th, which is the final day of the fiscal year, just to make sure they have enough money to pay him out. That's that just strikes me as a little bit alarming, and I'm sure some of it's contextual, but it's like Hunter says in the quote, like he says, I feel like I'm the least liked person probably across our department because we're having to fix a $21 million problem. Here he is calling it a problem. So we're doing that by reducing expenses. We're making sacrifices internally. So you can tell by making those sacrifices internally, maybe my staff's not as happy as they normally would be with that. Again, you've got to do what you got to do. And I don't know if Ole Miss or Florida or Tennessee or whoever is doing some of these same things and dealing with these things, but just the way that it reads, it's like at the bare minimum, we know this is something that is not coming easy for the University of Arkansas.
Well, John, you raised the question of like, what's going to be the priority? Is it going to be just paying university athletic department funds, or is it, paying, NIL and all that? I think you get a pretty clear and definitive answer with some of the messaging you hear there. And the, what was the quote where he said, remain competitive and all that? Like that doesn't scream, we're about to up the bag for our student athletes. It screams, we got a bunch of bills to pay. And I just want everybody to, again, and I don't want to give us too much credit here, but like, we've kind of seen this for a while. It was 5 months ago. Sam Pittman did that press conference where he said, we're going to crush it in the portal. I'm paraphrasing here. He said, we're going to crush it in the portal. Revenue sharing, I think, is going to help us be more. He literally, Sam Pittman used that. And he was like, it's going to help us. Like, we're going to be more competitive because we're going to be able to compete with some of these top teams. He did say that. And like, we can go back and pull up the clip. Maybe I will after the show. But like, that was the thing that the revenue sharing was cited as a reason for why Arkansas was optimistic in the portal. And here we are 5 months later, and the athletic director is calling it a problem. And by the way, he's not wrong for calling. Like, I understand Arkansas has to do this. Yeah. Everyone has to. But that's why all along we said, why is revenue sharing going to change your space in where you rank in the SEC? Like, what is going to set you apart? Why is this going to help you? We asked those questions, and we're called haters for asking those questions. Now here we are 5 months later, and the AD is coming out and saying, yeah, this revenue sharing thing does not help us. It does not help us pay our bills to keep the lights on in the university, but it also is not going to help us in the NIL department. And like you said, John, NIL is a very, very low priority on the totem pole whenever you've got a few other things to take care of just within your own athletic department, let alone the student athletes.
Yeah. And that's like, again, we're all on the same page here. The language that was used, I haven't read that article from Hutch, and I'm glad you brought it up, Curtis, because that makes me feel even worse. That makes me feel even worse about everything. And, I have heard stuff, which I even hesitate to say these days, because good grief. I mean, people are, hearing a lot of things, but, the financial side of things, my question, and I remember talking about this on Lockdown. I think we talked about it on here, but I'm like, where's the money going? Like you are in the SEC. You have all of the media rights that comes in. And I know that has to pay for travel and all of that. Like, I get it. It's not just like funny money you can play around with. But if everybody in the SEC is getting the same cuts of how much money's coming in from the SEC, bowl money, all of that, and also you, the university, have a Razorback Foundation, you have some pretty big donors, you have been known to have like people that are very supportive of the program, all of this stuff, not to mention the fact that you have one of the lowest paid coaching staffs in football in the SEC, comparatively speaking. No one got any raises. Nobody is having to get paid for buyouts because they got fired. I guess maybe Mike Neighbors is, but it was still, comparatively speaking, pretty low. But that has been my question. Okay, if all of that's true, and I'm looking at it from a third-party perspective, then where's the money? Why are you in such a desperate situation? How did you get to this desperate situation? That's the question I'd want to ask Hunter Yurachek, or at least the administration, is how did this happen? Because I don't think that this is just every school has this issue where they're like, man, we got to get to this point or else we're going to die. I don't think anybody has that desperation side. So how did it get to this point financially where no money is being spent? And on top of that, you're acting like we're losing money. It sounds like you're in debt. It sounds like you're broke. That's what it sounds like. And if that's the case, how did that happen? That's my question. Again, I don't know if we'll get answers to it, but some of the language and some of the communication on some of this stuff has really made me worried. And that article from Hutch did not calm my nerves a little bit at all when it comes to the concerns I have. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'd love to know if I'm wrong. I'd love to admit that I'm wrong, but it's just concerning to me that a major athletic program in the SEC like Arkansas seems to be broke. That's the only vibe I get, is they are broke. So,
well, yeah, I mean, and maybe they were operating okay until this bill got put on them, and they weren't prepared for it, which being reactive instead of proactive would be expected, given some of the recent history there. But this is why they're doing the things that they're doing. I mean, this is why this is the thing. It's designed to help. This is why, we mentioned like the 3% deal. It's designed to help with this. The reseeding thing at Bud Walton Arena is designed to help with this. Like, that's why they're doing all these things. The budget cuts are designed to help with this. Bleeding a little bit to try to get there. It's so that, and yeah, it is concerning, but if you want to feel better, John, apparently the reseeding at Bud Walton Arena is going really well. According to Hunter Yurachek, that the renewal deadline is more than a month away still. They've received requests for more than 10,000 season tickets. They've added 1,000 new members to the Razorback Foundation. That comes with an $8 million increase to their annual fund, plus an additional $4 million contributed in positioning gifts towards better seat location in Bud Walton Arena. So there's a nice chunk of change right there.
Okay. So then what's the issue here then? Like, if that, and I agree, because I know I've talked to people in the foundation, it is going really well, and that's awesome. Like, it really is. I'm truly like glad that that's working. But on top of all that, okay, so what's the issue here then? Shouldn't that $8 million or whatever be like, hey, this should be great, dude. We're going to have a great amount of money. That's better than what we thought it would be. Oh no, it still comes across as almost like, well, that's good now, but we still need a lot more to kind of get up to here. It's I don't know, man.
We don't know how much they have. We don't know how much they need. We do know that they need to do this every year. Yeah. So it's not just like a one-time deal either. For me, it's not, it's more about where are you standing relative to your peers? That's the concern for me. Yep. It's not even that big of a deal to me. Like, if this is it's like a damn, man, we're struggling with this. Like, we're having to really make some cuts and pull some strings and do all these different things. It's like, all right, well, fine. I mean, you got to do whatever you got to do to get to this number, but is everyone else doing that? That's what I want to know. And that maybe that's the only way I could get a little bit of comfort.
And so you mentioned the relative to your peers, and I think that's the part. And again, there's probably a lot of people that are listening that we are ball talkers. We would love to just simply talk ball, but this side of the coin is such a big part of the equation. And that's always been the case. Even before NIL was a thing, making money is always the goal of every athletic department. At the end of the day, Hunter Yurichek's job as the athletic director at Arkansas is to just basically turn a profit on the entire program, or all the programs combined. Obviously, you're going to rely on football a lot, but it's to make as much money as possible. And so it is kind of part of the equation. And I know that we don't like to talk about that kind of stuff often, but it sucks because you just want to, at the end of the day, as a Razorback fan, you know, you're going to have your years in each sport and you're going to have your ups and your downs, but you just want to know at the end of the day that the coaches and players and the, you know, people involved in the athletic department are doing everything they can to make Arkansas the best possible athletic department, the most successful, competing for as many championships as possible, really trying to compete with the best of the best in the SEC. That's just what you want to believe when you put your head on your pillow at night. And it sucks because, like, obviously that's a simplistic way to view it, because there's a lot more that goes into it than just trying to win. But it does kind of suck to be hit with that reality that, like, this athletic department, winning is obviously what they want to do. I'm not saying the athletic department's not trying to win, but they have a lot of priorities that they need to kind of figure out. And there's a lot of these weird conversations, and it's tough to know for sure that Arkansas, especially in the football department, is putting themselves in the best possible position to win, because they have so many other pressing needs that have nothing to do with the product on the field that they are trying to take care of. And those, like, you know, you talked about priorities earlier, John. Those kind of are the priorities right now. And so, look, when football season comes around and portal season rolls around and we want to talk about, hey, can Arkansas go after this wide receiver that's a 5-star or whatever? It's like, dude, we got to pay the light bill, man. We can't get players. Like, players are like, NIL is so far, you know, I think Hunter used the term back burner when he was talking about the renovation for Bud Walton Arena. NIL is on, like, whatever the third, you know, if you have your 4 burners right here, there's like a separate stove somewhere in the basement. That's where NIL is right now. And so it's tough to, like, have these conversations and be like, yeah, can Arkansas make these strides and become closer and closer to being one of the best football programs in the country? It's like, that's not even on the agenda right now, brother.
Yeah, it's like it's like the toaster oven that's way in the back that you forgot about, and the toast is burnt, and it's just like, what's that smell? I mean, that's how far it is. And that's, like, again, we'll get to your chat, because there's a lot of stuff I know a lot of you have reactions to on this. But the last thing I just wanted to say too, when I say the last thing, we'll talk more, but you know, it goes back to the priorities of everything, you know, in the communication of everything. I know that, you know, we speak for a living. You know, this is what we do. We do podcasts, we do live streams and everything. We speak for a living. And as a communication major myself in U of A, 7.5 years, obviously I'm very well versed in the communication department. But that, to me, is what has maybe caused more harm than good, has been just the lackadaisical, non-intentional, non-urgent communication. It's just, I could be wrong about everything that I am saying right now. I could be 100% wrong. And I could have been 100% wrong about all of this for the past few months. But there has been nothing communicated at all that has changed really anything. And I'm not saying that every time I have an opinion that, you know, Hunter Yurichek needs to come out on Twitter or whatever and make a statement being like, well, John's wrong and here's why. I'm not saying that. But it just feels like there's a lot of the people that share these same concerns, these same issues, these same criticisms, the same everything. And it's just like, you're not even communicated with what's going on. If there was just a little humility in all of this, and maybe this is what they're trying to avoid. And maybe I'm stupid for even thinking this. But if the problems were as bad as what they seem to be when it comes to finances, when it comes to NIL and all that stuff, I would actually respect and appreciate more if Yurichek or whoever, doesn't matter who it is, whoever comes out and says, listen, we're in a bad way, guys. We're in a bad way. We need help. We need help. We need your help, because this ever-changing stuff has been brutal to us, and we need help. And here's how you can help us. We want to show our appreciation for you. But if you want us to continue to compete, like, we need your help, because we either made bad decisions, or we really don't have as much money as you think, or, you know, people screwing us in NIL and leaving or whatever has really put us in a bind. Whatever it is, just talk to people, man. Just talk to people if you need help. And I think Razorback fans love the Hogs that much that they would be willing, not everyone, but willing to help out if you just were upfront and honest, being like, hey, if this is bad, we need your help. I think it would, but I don't think that'll ever happen. So
I mean, I don't know. He didn't get on his hands and knees and beg, but that's almost exactly what he just
that
did.
point for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what he did there with some of those quotes. And you know, like there's a level of pride and a level of, you know, nothing is ever as good or bad as it seems. You know what I mean? But that's, I mean, he's very open and honest with the money that they need to get and that they don't have it. And these are things they're doing internally and sacrificing themselves. And then here are the opportunities for you to help. So like, I really don't, I mean,
well, and also
supposed to do
going back to like, even when he spoke, you remember when he spoke, I guess it was at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, and he was talking about how, hey, the fans, y'all have to carry this collective and all that. Like, that's kind of been our frustration the whole time, is like, look, you can ask fans for money, and obviously that's a part of it. You have to have some form of a collective. You are going to need the people of the state of Arkansas. We're like, dude, it's not the fans, it's not the state of Arkansas who's supposed to be footing the bill for this kind of stuff. And that's kind of been my frustration all along, is it's like, if you're doing what you're supposed to do as an athletic department and existing in this world of NIL, you should not be that dependent on the good folks of Clinton, Arkansas, rising up and rallying enough money together to fund everything. And so I think that's what's kind of concerning the other way, is that they're actually like trying to be a little too dependent on the casual fan who shouldn't be footing these bills.
Well, and I agree. And let me be clear. When I'm saying about Yurchek coming out and asking for help, I know he's asking for help, but I'm saying coming out asking for help based on what's resulted in this, like being transparent of why it's at this point and how it got to this point. Because I think about the Arkansas Edge. When it first got announced, I think it was the Duke basketball game. Bobby Petrino just got hired, all of that. Imagine if you were somebody that heard that and was like, man, I want to help. That's awesome. That's great. Let's do this. Here's $5,000. What did you get from that? Nothing. I mean, it's like the Arkansas Edge isn't even going to exist anymore. It wasn't promoted. You didn't get any like ROI on it. It was nothing. And that was just 2 years ago. So when something like this comes out and you're like, no, do this instead. I think there'll be a lot of fans that are apprehensive because they're like, well, man, what happened with that? Like, what happened all there? What happened with the Edge? Why? It's just a matter of being transparent about how you got to this point. And then once you do that, say, this is how we need your help and we want you to help us out because of this. I think that's what I'm more referring to as, because obviously they're begging for help. Obviously they're needing that, but it's more of just about explaining how it got to this point and why you're needing so much help. That's my thing. But again, I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors in this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, because they had all those grandiose plans. We talked about the renovations at Bud and everything, and how quickly that got moved to the back burner. I'm sure it's more nuanced than this, but could not a big part of it just be this was our operating budget. This is how we were doing business, and now we have $20.5 million tacked onto it every single year moving forward.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And they're just not positioned to handle that.
Yeah,
so they got to find ways to do it, and maybe they're not doing a good job of doing that. But I think that's how you got here. You know, because maybe you weren't operating at the surplus you needed to be, and you were scraping by or whatever as it was, which would make sense given, you know, like where we knew the NIL and everything like that was for a while there. But that's a shit ton of money every year that gets thrown out on you, and you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, this is something that I know that they've had a whole team of people that have been preparing for and looking at, but it just draws more questions, I think, for a lot of people. And I think it's the issue of the basic fans, not all fans, but most of the fans just want to win, and they want to win at a high level. And if they feel like they need NIL to win, that's what they want their money, their hard-earned dollars to go towards, is winning. And when you have people in charge or whatever that is coming across to where you don't know if that's what it's going to go towards, it's like, that's the question that people have. Is it because of you and mismanaging and your bad decisions? Or is it because of, hey, everybody's going through this and we need other things to be done first before we get to NIL? Like, what is it? What is the priority here? Because I think that's what fans just want to know. What's the priority? Is it winning? Then let's get after it and let's win. Or is it just keeping the lights on? Because if there's a difference between the two. And right now it seems like keeping the lights on is a big thing. So,
And Curtis, the point you made earlier about talking to other SEC people that cover other SEC teams, and maybe this is just more of a thing that we just don't hear about, but it just sucks because there's so many programs in the SEC where you don't have to ask that question. Like, you kind of just know these dudes are spending a ton of money. They're going to stop at nothing to make sure they win. And you're kind of wondering, man, how the hell are these dudes spending all that money? Maybe they'll be in this position in 3 years where they're trying to keep the lights on. But it's like, it just sucks because I don't think every SEC program is in this same situation.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Like, it's just a different playing field, and it just makes you think that, because I originally thought, NIL and all this stuff will help Arkansas kind of get risen up a little bit, and it seems like at the end of the day, it's pretty much nothing has changed as far as which programs are doing well and which programs aren't.